If you've been scrolling through endless lists of pre-built gaming rigs, watching YouTubers compare specs, and still feel like you're one step away from making the right call, this review is here to clear that up. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent the last few weeks actually setting up the Skytech Gaming King 95, running it through a couple of launch titles, and testing how it behaves when I throw a stream and a couple of tabs into the mix. First off, the biggest question most people have is whether a pre-built like this can really deliver the same experience you'd expect from a hand-picked custom build. The answer, in my experience, is a qualified yes. The i7-14700F and RTX 5070 combo gives you enough headroom to cruise through today's biggest games at 1440p on ultra settings, and even dip into 4K on titles that aren't GPU-starved. When I dropped into Cyberpunk 2077 with ray tracing turned on, the frame rates settled around 7080 frames per second, which is smooth enough that I never felt the need to lower settings. That same session also had Discord and OBS open, and the system handled the extra load without hiccups. One of the practical strengths that often gets lost in the hype is the storage setup. A 1TB Gen 4 NVMe SSD isn't just a marketing buzzword. It translates to games loading in seconds and a Windows 11 boot that feels instantaneous. I installed Elden Ring, Starfield, and Fortnite on the same drive, and none of them suffered from the occasional spike that you sometimes see on older SATA drives. For someone who likes to jump from one title to another without waiting around, that speed is a real day-to-day benefit. Cooling is another area where the King 95 tries to stand out. The 360mm AIO liquid cooler is tucked behind a sleek ARGB front panel, but it's more than just looks. During a 30-minute marathon of Red Dead Redemption 2, the CPU temperatures hovered in the low 70 SC, and the fans stayed relatively quiet. That said, the AIO does add a bit of acoustic presence when you push the GPU hard, especially if you crank the in-game graphics to max. If you're building a silent rig for a bedroom setup, you might notice the subtle whine, but it's not obnoxious enough to be a deal-breaker for most gamers. Now, let's talk about the practical trade-offs. The first thing that caught my eye was the Wi-Fi 5 module. In an era where Wi-Fi 6 is becoming the norm, you'll still get solid speeds on a decent router, but if you're hoping to squeeze every last megabit out of a newer mesh system, you might feel a little left behind. It's not a deal killer if you already have a wired Ethernet connection, but it's something to flag if you rely on wireless exclusively. Another hidden consideration is the upgrade path. The case is a fairly standard mid-tower, and while the GPU is a high-end 16GB card, the brand can vary between manufacturers. That means you'll want to double-check the exact model if you have a preference for cooling solutions or aftermarket aesthetics. The 850W gold-rated PSU gives you room to add a bigger GPU later, but the motherboard layout isn't as spacious as a boutique custom board, so adding extra M.2 drives or a custom water loop will require some planning. If you're the type who likes to swap components every few months, you'll find the upgrade process a bit more constrained than a DIY build. Who should actually buy this machine? If you're a gamer who wants to jump straight into higher fresh rate play without fiddling with BIOS settings, cable management, or hunting down compatible parts, the Skytech Gaming King 95 hits the sweet spot. It also makes sense for streamers who need a reliable workhorse that can handle game rendering, video encoding, and background apps simultaneously. The fact that it ships with Windows 11 pre-installed and no bloatware means you can start gaming right out of the box, which is a big time saver for anyone who doesn't want to waste hours on a fresh OS install. On the flip side, if you're a PC enthusiast who enjoys the thrill of building, tweaking voltages, and squeezing every last dollar out of each component, you'll probably find the price a bit steep compared to a DIY equivalent. The lack of Wi-Fi 6 and the slightly louder AIO under full load are also points that more meticulous users might flag. And if you're living in a tight space, that 360mm radiator could be a tight squeeze for a small desk or a cramped PC case shelf. From a value perspective, the real moneymaker isn't just the headline specs, but the time you save. Buying this pre-build eliminates the guesswork of matching a CPU to a motherboard, ensuring the power supply can actually support the RTX 5070 Ti, and it comes with a warranty that covers the whole system. For anyone who's ever had a component fail 3 months after a custom build, that peace of mind can be worth the premium. Overall, after a week of daily use, the Skytech Gaming King 95 feels like a solid, no surprises platform that delivers what it promises. It runs the latest titles at high settings,